Welcome to Nashville Mountain Bike Podcast, powered by SORBA Mid-TN, where we talk about advocacy, trails, and anything and everything mountain bike. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the show. All right, guys, welcome back to the Nashville Mountain Bike Podcast. Today I've got David Carpenter and Baylor Franklin from True Performance Training Systems out of Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you. So when I look at SORBA and think about all the things and all the people that we represent, obviously mountain bikers, and obviously the big thing that we do as mountain bikers is use our body and we ride our bikes, and I think it's really cool to talk about human performance from a mountain bike perspective and things that we can do to make us better riders. So we'll talk a lot about that today. But David, you founded this coaching business essentially back in 2013. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What made you? What were you thinking, man?
So when I was in college, I thought I actually wanted to do physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going down the pre-PT route in college. Had a coach from Iowa, where I'm from, reach out to me, and she asked me if I wanted to come help coach triathlon, and that was 2009. So got into coaching, fell in love with it. Realized that was actually where I wanted to go. So I buckled down, went full on exercise physiology for my degree path, learned as much as I possibly could along the way. That was Kansas State, where I did most of my education, and then got tired of winters. So I moved down here and finished my last semester at MTSU. But yeah, kind of started out as like, this would be really cool if I could make enough to pay for my Training Peaks coaching subscription. And then it turned into a full-time thing, working with a lot of people in cycling, a lot of people running, triathlon, as well as some action sports with motocross and like GNCC hare scramble style racing as well.
Yeah,
so
right on. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Baylor, what brought you here, man?
So I guess I ran track at Ole Miss from 2018 to 2023. And the following year, I decided to move to California, San Luis Obispo, because I was training for the Olympic trials. And as I was out there, one of my roommates, he came from a triathlon background, and one of my good friends, he had actually been coached by David. And he was like, hey, like, there's an opportunity here. He's been working with a lot of high schoolers in track. Would you be interested in this? And I said, yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to stay a part of it that way. And so, while I was out there, I started doing it, and it's like, man, this is, it's one thing to compete, but I think to be able to help those people, especially kind of you see your younger self in a lot of people, and it allows you a chance to, I think, kind of give back in a way and stay involved in the sport. And then I got hurt while I was out there, and basically I was like, well, I got to call it because this injury's too bad. I was trying to push through it, and I knew that I was done. But I think at first I didn't know what I was going to do, but then when I moved back, we kind of started doing a lot more. I started working with him, and, I didn't know much about I'm still learning a lot about the other, the mountain biking and the cycling, but I think I kind of realized most people are the same. It's just manifested in a different way. Yeah. So, whether it's mountain biking, cycling, or people that do ultras or run an 800, the mindsets are very similar, and I think I started to really become fascinated with that side of things. So I've been coming at it from a track background, but, the last few months I've really been able to learn a lot about it, and it's been really interesting for me. And I knew it was something I was like, this is kind of where I want to start going with things. So it's been awesome.
How long have you been in Tennessee?
So I grew up here.
Okay.
I grew up
so
in
you're
London.
used to the humidity.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
Okay.
And I went to school in Oxford, Mississippi. So.
All right, right on. All right, dudes. I'm going to give you. This is like the rapid fire thing. So I'm going to give you these questions. There is a right answer to each one.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Just to get us started, and these are just things that were off the top of my head that we'll circle back to these in our conversation, but I want each one of you to answer on each one of these. So, diet or exercise?
It depends on what you want to achieve, but both.
Okay.
Exercise.
Exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Carbs or keto?
Carbs.
Carbs.
Okay. Morning workouts or evening workouts?
Evening.
Evening.
Is that just because you don't like to get up early, or
I
is
hate
it
getting up early?
Okay?
I think morning workouts in the summer, but when I'm doing the harder 800 workouts and some of the stuff, getting the evenings nice.
Okay. Trained by feel or data? So RPE or heart rate?
Data.
I'm all feel.
All feel. So we
Yeah.
got one RPE, one heart rate. Okay. Protein shake or real food?
Real food.
Food.
Active recovery or resting? Like, in resting being like sitting on a couch, or active recovery is like maybe a walk or a light weighted vest walk kind of thing.
Active recovery.
Yeah, I'm active now. I used to be the other way, but
All right. You might not be able to answer this one, but clipless pedals or flats?
Clipless.
I'll go with that.
That's the only right answer.
Yeah.
Clipless pedals. Supplements, are they essential or overhyped?
Very essential most of the time.
I think essential as long as they're not used to replace for actually going out and running or competing. Or
All right. Grit or discipline?
Both.
I'll go discipline.
Okay. Coaching or self-guided? And there's only one right answer here, right?
Gotta be coaching.
Got to be coaching. This is a trick question. Strava or Garmin Connect?
Strava.
I use Strava, yeah. I guess.
Neither one of those was the right answer. You're supposed to say Training Peaks.
Well, from a like social media platform, definitely Strava.
Right on, right on. And we'll talk about that, like the mental side of things and why Strava is important, and it's a motivator to some people. I think is really cool. Most overrated trend in fitness today?
All of them?
All of them?
I think that anytime someone like jumps on an all or nothing train, it's detrimental usually.
Yeah.
I think just having to buy every piece of gear before you do anything. It's like, just go out and start doing something.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We're focusing on the 1% of things when you need
Yeah.
to be focusing on the 80% of things. So let me tell you my experience about coaching, and we can kind of start the conversation there. So a couple of years ago, my brother's an orthopedic surgeon, type A personality kind of guy, and he got into ultra marathons. And when he got into that, we were talking one day, and he mentioned that he had got a coach, and I kind of laughed at him. And I was like, "What do you mean you got a coach? You know, what are you talking about? You're running. Like, why do you need a coach for running?" And then fast forward a year later, I had signed up for my first ultra marathon, and I had hired a coach myself. And I was like, okay, now I get it, right? So there was like this part of me that was like, of course I can do this myself. Like, I totally have all the tools available to me. Why in the world would I need a coach? So how do you answer that? Like, how do you approach those people who think, why do I need a coach? What is that good for?
Yeah. I actually, explain that often, but I also see it in myself. Baylor actually writes my training plan for me.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote my own training plan going into Leadville. And
Leadville run or ride?
the run.
Okay.
Last summer. And it was good. Everything was great about it. There were definitely a couple of mistakes along the way where I didn't listen to my body maybe as well as I should, not from the pushing standpoint, but from the recovering standpoint. Everything went fine at the race and it all worked out. But just in the build-up, I think having someone that's your like go-to to bounce ideas off of, to share thoughts with, that sort of thing goes a long ways. As athletes, a lot of times we are our own worst coach, because more often than not, it's not me saying to somebody, you need to go harder. It's me telling somebody, hey, you went way too hard on your easy day, or you did this and we needed to do this, usually going too hard. And so our hard days couldn't be hard enough. And so it's getting the right amount of dosage, because most people do want to go hard. The going hard is inherently usually the fun part to some extent, and the just going out and just doing for a long period of time is usually not the fun part. So, that's a big component. And then I think that the other thing is, you can tell me what you think too, Baylor, but I don't always like to write the workouts in for myself that I know suck. but I also need them. Like, I'm probably not going to regularly put a 4x2 mile workout on my training plan because I hate 4x2 miles. I can do it well, and I definitely get better because of it, but I don't like it. So, if I have a choice between 8x1 or 4x2, I'm choosing 8x1 every single time. But having somebody else that's a little outside the, yourself, put that on there, you're going to, one, go do it because somebody else put it there and they're going to go look and see if you did it. But two, it's a little easier to assign it to somebody else than to yourself.
Yeah, accountability, man. Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So Baylor, I mean, you've been coached in college and high school. I mean, you've been coached your whole life, right? So do you have a different perspective on it, or?
No, I think everything you said is true, and I definitely learned a lot about myself. Who I am as a coach and who I am as an athlete is a little different because the athlete part of me is like, oh, my hamstring's pulled, but I'll be all right. Like, I can still go run. Whereas, like, it's good to have a coach. Hey, that's probably not smart. Like, knowing when to hold back, I think, is a really big thing. Like you said, the accountability part's huge. Some of those workouts I would do in college, if a coach writes it, it's one thing. But again, me going out and doing it myself, writing it myself. And I think also as an athlete, you like to have that separation with your coach where you can kind of just let go. Because I think if you're worrying so much about what you're giving yourself or if it's down to this, whereas the coach, it's like, all right, I trust him. Let me focus on training, recovery, that stuff. I think that's what helps me a lot.
Yeah. So,
and again, like he said, he coaches me and I kind of coach him. So it also gives us a chance to learn a little bit. But having that separation is really good because if it were just me, pure athlete, I'd end up hurt all the time because I just don't know when to shut it off sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And I go back to my experience with the coach, and it wasn't a good experience, by the way, and we can talk about that here in a little bit. And I chose the route of, and I didn't know where to start was the problem. And I started on Training Peaks, and I went through there like, hey, pick a coach kind of thing. And I ended up with some kid out in Colorado who was working out of his mom's basement that didn't know me, didn't understand really what was going on, and we just didn't connect. And after a few months, I had to drop him because things weren't going. I was getting hurt, quite frankly. So I think that could be better, and I think that's super important for you guys to, and you're doing it here, is building those relationships and being local and being here for the local athletes here in Nashville. I think that's super awesome. When you guys think about athletes, and again, going back, Baylor, to you were coached for years and years and years over a long period of time. Do you find that athletes go for coaching like for a specific event, or do they stay with you guys like over a very long period of time through multiple events?
So I probably could answer this one pretty well. I've been with people through many transitions of training. From I've had people that started out with me from a general Mondo. That looks like fun. Like, let's go hit that. That could be a year and a half into the process, and then a couple of friends are going to go do a half Ironman. You think I could? What do you think about that? I mean, yeah, like definitely could get you there, right? And so just kind of rolling through that. I mean, I would say, heck, I've actually was going through my roster the other day. I've got a couple of people that have been with me literally since day one.
Really?
And still with me now. I've got people that have been with me for, Davis, the guy who was just talking about. I've coached since he was in 6th grade.
Yeah.
I have another kid. I've worked with him since he was a freshman in high school. I just got his wedding invite the other day, which kind of crazy. But I've had a number of people that I've worked with from almost day one of their athletic career, and continue to work with them further. So
that's important.
Yeah.
My brother is an example there. He's kept his running coach for years now, and she's done great things for him. And going back to all the benefits that you've already talked about having the coach, you identified the exact same things and that I picked up that I appreciated from having the coach was that I didn't have to manage my weekly calendar. Somebody else did it for me. They put it in there for me. The use of Training Peaks, and not everybody that's listening might not know what Training Peaks is. So just give 1 minute, like what is Training Peaks and why is it a good tool?
Yeah, totally. So, it's literally an app. They've gone through a lot of iterations of it now, but it allows us to send out a program. A lot of it allows us to put in, for cycling specifically, power or heart rate data that you can follow with a smartwatch or a computer head unit or Zwift on your smart trainer at home. But we can set all of your parameters for a workout, and you literally just hop on and it guides you through it. But it also gives us the data feedback from the workout. So we get your heart rate numbers, we get your power numbers, we get your cadence numbers, we get what the elevation was like, we get what the temperature outside was. All of those components that play into your performance while you're out doing a ride. Or run if you're, hopping in with some trail runs or whatever here and there. But we get all that data on the backside so we can see what's going on. Oh, your heart rate wasn't responding. Like, did you feel extra tired today? Oh, yeah, I felt like pretty awful. Oh, okay, well, let's build some more recovery. And, but it really allows us to see the back end stuff, but it also allows us to track your personal feedback on a workout. That felt really hard. That felt really easy. It was really hot out today. I'm feeling really great right now, whatever the case may be. And then now we can put in your strength workouts and track load progressions and it literally shows up like a playlist, like your videos, sets, reps, everything, and you can track your weight with that. It's amazing. But we also then too get to overlay heart rate variability, resting heart rate, stress scores, all of that stuff on each day as well, and see how your training is affecting your biomarkers as well, and really put it all together. So it just allows us to effectively give somebody information and for us to receive the information and manage everything, instead of trying to manage like an Excel document that would just be a nightmare.
Yeah, right on. I mean, bottom line is it's a shared tool between you and your athlete that helps communicate. And I always found it super helpful. And to your point, I mean, I don't know how it works, but all of my workouts would show up on my watch, and it was just like, okay, go for it. So let's talk about mountain bikers, man. Like, I obviously know a lot of mountain bikers. Mountain biking is what we do here in Middle Tennessee. There's thousands of us. And I'm speaking on behalf of those guys. But if they think like I do, I think a lot about fitness and like, where am I at? And I feel it every time I go out and ride, and I can gauge where I'm at on how I'm feeling, how my performance was, why did this suck, what did I do wrong? So if they think about it as much as I do, I know they're thinking about their performance. Not everybody out there is wanting to be an endurance racer or a sprint racer, mountain bike. But do you see value in coaching for an everyday mountain biker out there?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And I actually work with a number that don't really have any like competition oriented goals. I don't think you have to have a competition oriented goal. I mean, I think that it is important from a coaching standpoint to have a goal. Are we working towards best 5-minute power? Are we working towards getting a KOM on a segment on Strava? Like, what is it that...
Do you have those kind of guys that want to get a KOM?
Most of my people tell me, hey, I have so-and-so in my group, and I want to be able to, like, put the hurt down on them is typically what
we've all got
what
those
I
people,
get.
right?
Yeah. And so I hear that more often than like, I want to target this segment or whatever. But no, I have a bunch of people that are like, hey, they view it almost like a lot of people would view golf. Yeah. I want to be able to go out and, play around with my buddies and not be the worst one in the group.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that aren't pro golfers or trying to play in tournaments hire someone to help them with their golf game. This is not really any different. In fact, it probably can be more helpful, because if you put the time in, you're going to see gains.
Yeah, no, that's good feedback. I mean, I every time I go out, I want to get better at something. I can tell how my body feels. So again, for the average mountain biker out there that might not have a really good understanding of nutrition, they might not have a deep understanding of, you know, physical fitness or whatever, even though they do ride bikes. So start at the bottom, at the top, right? What are the most important things for somebody to be considerate of when wanting to improve their physical fitness on a bike?
Yeah. Baylor, I'll let you speak to the importance of sleep, maybe, on that
I'd
one.
say, I will say, yeah. I think regardless of sport, every time someone asks us, "What are the most important things?" I said, "Are you getting enough sleep?" It's like, I don't care what supplements you're taking, anything else you're doing. Are you getting enough sleep first and foremost? That's something you can control. That is all directly related. I was like, I know some of the best athletes. They'll sleep at minimum 8 hours. Some will go 10. A lot of them take naps in the middle of the day. I was like, that is just as important as anything you're doing. I was like, you can go do the best workout ever, and then you get 3 hours of sleep. I was like, what's the point? You're not going to recover. So I think regardless of what people's background, they come to us, are you getting enough sleep? That's always the first thing we say.
I'm hearing more and more of that. Like, I guess there used to be a fad, right? I only get 5 hours of sleep and I'm awesome. And, you know, I can get 2 days worth of work done in one day, but that's not cool. You gotta get your rest, and recovery is a huge part of it. For me, when I was learning my body and when I was going through my coaching program, what I realized that was being missed, and again, for me, right, everybody is completely different. I think it's important for people to know that there is not a catch-all for every single person that comes through your program or comes through to get coaching. It's like I have 100 levers inside of me that can be pulled. You guys have 100 levers inside of you, and they're all completely different. Like my body type, I'm built to survive like an end of the world kind of disaster because my body like packs on fat, right? And it's just, that's the way I am. And you've got people out there that can't put fat on their bodies. And it's just, it's completely different in how you address those situations. So talking about the 80-20, and I 80% of people should focus on these big things. For me, it was weight. I could get the biggest improvements in my performance by losing weight. And that was straight to diet, right? Once I got my weight under control to a point that I could start, focusing more on my cardio and my recovery stuff, then I could do that. But I think it's important for people to identify for themselves or through coaching what that big thing is. Like stand in front of somebody and look at them and are you fit to ride a bike? You could lose 30 pounds, man. You're going to be a lot easier. You're going to have a lot more fun on this bike if you lose some weight. Let's focus on that first. Mm-hmm. So I guess my point here is going back to that nutrition part. How important is nutrition when riding a bike and managing weight and managing?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think it goes back to you can't outride or outrun a bad diet. If we start looking at things from like just a pure number standpoint, there's we're talking about over 3,000 calories per pound of fat. So if you've got 3,000 calories or a pound of fat on your body that you want to lose, it's 3,000 calories. Mm-hmm. So that means that if we're at a net zero on calorie intake versus expenditure, we got to burn an extra 3,000 calories to burn that one pound of fat. And it's not exactly a 1-to-1 on some of this stuff, but if we're just working purely by the numbers. Mm-hmm. So that means that, you think about going out for a bike ride and you go out for a hard bike ride, you're going to burn 1,000 calories on an hour-long bike ride. And that's a hard you're one. Burying yourself. We went out and just ran at Barfield, and I came back activity tracker wise, put me at 500 calories burned. I would say it was probably about right for my intensity level on that. So we ran for just shy of an hour on real techie trails, burned 500 calories, which means it's going to take 6 of those runs to burn 3,000 calories of fat. So, if I'm 3,000 calories over on my diet in a week, either I'm storing that as fat, or I'm having to do 6 of those runs in order to be at zero. Yeah. And so, the easier side of that equation to take care of is cut some calories out from the intake side. Because that's the harder side of the equation or the easier side of the equation to balance out. Right. So definitely that. But our diet, aside from just the standard like components of losing weight, gaining weight, putting muscle on, that sort of thing, it has a pretty big impact on, our overall health as well. When we start looking at micronutrients, iron, serum ferritin levels, and our ability to transport oxygen to our muscles, our vitamin D levels. We're far enough north here in Tennessee, even though we don't think about it, that we're only getting enough sun exposure if we spend time outside during about 4 months of the year, that we get enough sun exposure to actually be able to synthesize enough vitamin D to be sufficient without supplementation.
And that's if you're spending time outside?
Yeah, that's if you're spending time outside. Wow. So most people are vitamin D deficient, and it's not usually a marker that a lot of primary care physicians are going to test as part of like a yearly physical. And so it's something that I recommend getting checked. But, how much calcium we intake and that sort of thing does have an impact on that as well. So that's a nutrition side of things. Mm-hmm. But also your micro side with your supplementation, kind of going back to what you threw out earlier. But it's huge. Yeah. And that, vitamin D levels, that plays into how often do you get sick? What's going on with bone density? All of these things that are, later on in life components that a lot of people don't really think about. They're a big piece. But, serum ferritin, we see it a lot with our runners, track athletes, high school kids that are growing. The runs, when we get more intense, just because of how our body lyses blood cells, the iron component becomes a bigger factor. But also, if you're sick and you go on antibiotics or have surgery and go on antibiotics or antivirals, it does have an impact on how your gut absorbs iron, and so therefore your serum ferritin levels can become lower because of that, and so your performance drops. You basically, each workout where you think you're doing the right amount of work is actually more intense than it actually is supposed to be.
Sure.
And so it might not hit you in the first 4 or 5 days, but 2 weeks later you're like, man, why am I all of a sudden not hitting my numbers? And you look back, and a lot of times you start to, they were sick and they had antibiotics, or they, whatever the case may be. And then you have them go get a blood panel done, and serum ferritin levels are low, and you gotta work that in.
So yeah, you're talking like super detailed. How do you get this information on your athletes? Do you guys offer testing, that kind of stuff?
So we don't offer testing, but we do. It's not uncommon to send people in, and it's become more common with the research that's come out lately. And any lab tests now, we've sent a number of our athletes there. It's over in Cool Springs. They return your data back within usually 24 hours. You're gonna have it back. So it's a good way to be able to do that. And then I usually will put numbers into Training Peaks just so that we have it logged. And then we can see the progression of how things played out. Got sick, got tested, low, supplemented, took this long. Okay, now we have a general procedure for that particular person into future seasons as to how we need to approach that.
Sure. Oh, that's incredible information. Kind of switching from micro to macronutrients, and again going to diet. What's the general guidelines that a healthy person should be following on a day-to-day diet plan as far as macros are concerned? Is it different for everybody?
Oh man, it is. Yeah. It is. So my starting point is with protein typically, and also our bodies are incredible from the perspective of we're not typically wired to overeat. But a lot of times, if we're having carbohydrates, because they're usually pretty light, it's easy to hammer some carbs and then be like, oh man, that was like, I'm at 4,000 calories and I've had breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
But you start looking at bringing on some protein. You go have a chicken breast. Not getting a lot of calories from a chicken breast, 1 8-ounce chicken breast, but you're going to be pretty full, and so like that's a pretty big thing where if you're getting enough protein, you're probably not going to be overeating across the board.
Right.
So I start with protein. And, I'm going to step back real quick. I'm not a registered dietitian. So like,
Right on.
but these are our basic building blocks for kind of what we're going to approach first. We do refer people to our in-house registered dietitian if something's not right and we need more work on that. But body weight in grams of protein is our starting point. So you weigh 150 pounds, aiming for 150 grams of protein in a day.
Right.
Which, when you start to think about it, you're like, that's a lot of protein if I weigh 150 pounds.
It's hard to do.
But you eat 150 grams of protein, probably not looking for a lot of other calories unless you're super active. Yeah. So anyway, that's a good place. It's also a good place, because we're focusing on strength and conditioning as well. So doing some weightlifting. If you're putting some muscle mass on or trying to at least maintain muscle mass, especially with the aging population and with people that are constantly tearing down muscle, when we're going out to do endurance activity, we're tearing it down. So we got to be having protein on board so we're not completely like crushing our muscle fiber content, because that's also what drives our metabolic rate. So how many calories we burn every day is driven off of how much muscle mass we have. And muscle mass is declining as you age. And so we want to really build it as much as we can as early as possible, and then maintain it the best that we possibly can by having enough protein in our diet to do that. So our body weight in grams of protein is our building block. And then from there, it's, how lean is the person? What's our goal with the person? Are we trying to, put muscle mass on? Because if we're trying to put muscle mass on, because it's the fall and we're really hitting some hypertrophy in the gym and that sort of thing, I want them to be over. That's fine if they're over and gaining a little bit of weight, because it's going to set us up for a better program moving forward. If we're, middle of the year and they're like, hey, I want to get just a little more lean. It's like, okay, like let's back the calories down just a little bit, and we'll just make sure that we're trending consistently at like 1/4 of a pound to 1/2 pound a week if we're not trying to make a huge adjustment to weight. But that's just one of those things where it's a small adjustment and monitor the results, instead of like, you need to do it this way, because it's not 100% for everybody. Yeah. On making that right.
Yeah, I found what works for me, and I'm weird. I have to write everything down. I've got a food journal if you're going to do a food journal, you have to be honest about it.
Oh yeah.
And I went like weeks and months like lying to myself and like literally I wouldn't write everything down, and I'm like, it says it right here. I hit my numbers. No, I didn't. I had ice cream and I didn't write it down. But anyway, I keep it manually. The first thing I look at is protein. Did I hit my protein for the day? And then calories, right? If you do protein and calories, for me, you will find very quick that you cannot eat heavy carb-laden foods. Mm-hmm. You just can't do it. Anyway, that's been a helpful thing for me. I know I've got another brother who does all of his electronically through an app. I think that nowadays they have it where you can like take a picture of your plate and it'll tell you exactly what's up.
Yeah.
But for me, I've got to have that journal sitting in my kitchen, so I walk by it every single time, and it clicks with me. So an app doesn't work for me, but I just encourage everybody to find out what works for them. If you're on the route of like trying to eat better and that kind of stuff, I think it's important. Going back to what school did you go to?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. So when you were in Ole Miss, was food and diet a big thing for your training, or was it like eat anything and everything because you were working out so hard all the time?
So it's interesting. Initially, my diet in high school was awful. I mean, I ate fast food all the time. I was like running pretty well. I didn't think anything of it. I was just eating whatever. Yeah. I'd have Taco Bell and McDonald's, stuff like that, whatever. And then I got to college, and they're like, hey, you should probably start to work on this. And I made the mistake because my training started going up a lot. I was doing more mileage. It's more intense. School's harder, everything, where I was trying to eat healthier. So I started cutting out a lot of stuff. But what I realized was now I'm not getting near as many calories as I'm used to because I'd never had a salad, never ate vegetables, never did anything. So I start switching to this, and all of a sudden, by the end of the year, I'm broken down.
Yeah.
And I met with a nutritionist, and I explained to him, and he said, well, here's the problem. He's like, you tried to make too big of an adjustment too soon. I go from all these high-calorie foods to eating stuff that maybe is not, and my training's going harder. So I had lost 7 pounds, completely burnt out. My season was over. So the next year, I kind of transitioned back to where I was like, okay, well, I met with a nutritionist again, and they're like, well, you're training super hard. And I think, the quote was, if the fire is hot enough, it'll burn. And especially for, my metabolism, I could pretty much eat just about anything, no matter what I ate. If I took a month off, I was going to stay the same weight. Where I had some other teammates that were completely different, maybe, and, came from a different background of just physiology, but we ran the exact same mile time or 800 time, so they had a completely different thing. For me, what I found would work was, all right, well, I'll just go to breakfast in the morning, get pancakes, eggs, eat till I'm full, and then lunch, I'd try to have a sandwich, chips, and then I was like, pretty much over time, I didn't really weigh anything, I didn't look anything, I just kind of figured out, do I feel good these days? And I think the good thing is our program is so consistent every day, every week, that by the time I'm second or third year, I kind of knew roughly what I needed to eat. So I was pretty consistent about what I ate every day. And then maybe if we had a harder day, then I would double up on steak at Chipotle or something. But we definitely, like probably once every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, we'd have a nutritionist come in. The main thing would be like, are you guys eating enough? And eating the right thing, because there's definitely ways you can feel full from, cramming down some cookies or whatever. So I think our main focus was, are you doing the workouts? Are you getting all your days? Are you sleeping? And then it was like, okay, well, now make sure we're fueling, because definitely points in the year where training would be so hard. Mississippi's super hot. We're sweating a ton. Like, are you drinking enough? Are you getting electrolytes? Stuff like that. For me, again, I came from more of a field background, just kind of trial and error. This is what I like to eat. This is how I feel full. This is how I feel good when I'm training. So it's been good to kind of see the other side of it, because I think I kind of found my way there just by trial and error, and then to see it get backed up, well, this is when the nutritionist says, okay, this is why. Yeah. So to see that other side definitely helps.
Yeah, I went through that myself, and I thought in my mind, right, I could go on a low calorie, and what I wanted to do was maintain my fitness level while going on a reduced calorie diet, but I felt like crap all the time. I was like, why isn't this working? And then on top of that, you got to consider I was training for an ultra marathon, and I was doing endurance stuff, and I did endurance stuff on a bike. And what's the hormone that gets released during endurance? Cortisol, right? So cortisol is telling your body to store fat, and it just, there's so many levers going on, it doesn't work, and you're wondering why you're not losing weight and you're not looking better, but you're doing things to tell your body to store the fat so it can protect yourself on these stupid things that you're doing on these bikes. Anyway, so I say all that to say, going back to the levers, man, there's so many levers, and they're so unique to each individual person that it takes help to understand what those all are and to figure it out. And the answer is going to be different for everybody. So when you're listening to influencers and stuff, or looking through reels on Instagram, it's easy to jump on that because it seems easy to take that advice. But I tell you, man, it's a lot more complicated than that for the average individual. So if I came to you as a new coachee, what would we do the first couple of weeks? What should I expect?
I mean, we're going to sit down first off, and we're going to have a chat. Baylor's been on a lot of our initial calls with clients. He's had his own initial calls. It's an interview, I think a lot of times, a lot of people that come on are thinking that it's 100% interviewing me, or interviewing Baylor or whatever. Is this coach going to be the right person for me? Can they take me to where I want to be? But I'm also, I'm interviewing them as well. Because, I have clients where going in, I we jive. And I've been doing this long enough now to know, from talking with somebody, like, based upon their personality, based upon what their goals are, based upon, their tendencies and that sort of thing, I kind of have a pretty good feel as to whether or not it's going to be a good fit.
And sometimes it's not.
Because
right?
sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
We've had people that we've told, hey, we're not sure if this is gonna, we don't feel like we're gonna be able to deliver you to the place where you want to be. Whether it's because it's just a mismatch of personalities, or some people do a pretty good job of working with themselves, or that there is a component too of believing that whatever it is that you're doing is the best thing for you to be doing. And I'm not saying that that's all coaching is, because it's definitely not. Some programs are better than other programs, but a lot of it is when the athlete's working with a coach, this is exactly what I need to be doing on this day. And if you believe that what you go out and do is the exact thing that you needed to do on that day, and that you've done all the work necessary to be on the start line and be ready, probably going to have a pretty good day on the start line. Mm-hmm. And on a course.
So how big is attitude on the case of the athlete?
Huge. Yeah. And that's definitely something that I'm like taking into account when I'm talking to them on that initial.
Yeah.
What is the basic attitude? Are they a positive person generally? Are they generally negative? Like what are we taking away from there? So that's that. Then rolling down that path of first month, first 2 months. I mean, first 2 months, I'm not saying it's trash, but it's kind of like that dating period, right?
Sure.
You're figuring things out and kind of like working through those little things. You're figuring out their schedule. Are they a person that says, I've got 2 hours to train, but in reality, when they say they've got 2 hours, it actually means they've got 90 minutes? Mm-hmm. Are they've got 2 hours and they actually have 2 hours? What kind of a scheduler are they? Because I think that's a big component too, because I want to put something on their schedule that they can do. Baylor's actually been working with my wife a little bit, and I think he can talk to how important it is when you have a schedule for somebody, and working within the confines of that, because most of the people that we work with are people that have jobs and lives and families and stuff like that. And so it's not just to put whatever on the plan and they're going to go do it. And most people, if they got 3 hours on the plan and they really only have an hour and a half, they're not going to do anything. So it's better to put an hour and a half workout on there because it's what they have to work with than something else. So it's figuring out those little nuances of them. It's figuring out what are they responding well to? What are they not responding well to? Is this a person, because, from the track side of things, I think this is really interesting. We have a couple kids that run very similar times. One ran a 14:53, one ran a 14:59 in the 5K and cross country, within a couple seconds of each other in the mile, a couple seconds of each other in the 800. One of them runs 60 miles a week. The other one runs
35 to 40.
Yeah. And they're arriving at very similar times.
Is it a mental thing, you think?
No, 100% not.
Yeah.
The one guy trains high levels of threshold, and his guy trains a lot more on the VO2 speed side of things. Mm-hmm. And they're just two very different individuals, but identifying what kind of athlete the person is.
Is it hard to identify like mental strength in kids, or can you pick up on that?
I think
really
once
easily?
you've been doing it long enough, you can kind of see pretty early. And I've been lucky because I've had so many teammates from so many different backgrounds. Again, when I was in college, my training group, we were 800 guys, all three very different. So one had a more speed side, one was more strength side, lower mileage to high mileage. I was right in the middle. So I got to figure out, every aspect of that. Is between 20, 30 teammates, and then you bring a new freshman each year, you kind of get to see so many different things, and you learn how people respond to certain things, whether it's physically or mentally. My best friend is an Olympian for Spain. He's like almost a robot. So mentally, he's the most locked in human I've ever met, to a point where it kind of makes you question. He's like, every day he eats what he's supposed to eat. He gets up at a certain time, logs everything. We're having other teammates who maybe just as good, or other friends who are just as good, but do it from a completely different way. So you see it, and he works with a guy, one of my best friends as well from college. He was an All-American. He's a pro runner. He competed at the World Championships. The way you have to talk to him is completely different than maybe some other people. Talking about John, he needs a lot of he needs a lot of feedback. He needs to know certain things, where other people just they don't need any.
Do you think you can train mental fortitude and mental strength?
So we've talked about this before. That's a really good question. I do think there's the natural aspect of, I think you will get mentally stronger the more you push your limits and you say, okay, well, I did that. The more you kind of fail, or you have a really bad race at nationals, or maybe you had an event coming up and you realize, oh, it's not the end of the world. Like, I'll still be okay. You kind of learn from that a little bit. But at the same time, there are people, it seems like there's something that's just very different. I don't know if it starts younger, how much you can train that. But I've seen so many really, really talented athletes, from national champions to All-Americans to maybe people who just got into running, who some of them have the exact same mindset, some are completely different. It doesn't make any sense. But what is funny is, he's talking about our calls. A lot of times we'll get people, and it really helps once you've done the workouts yourself. I think that's a huge thing. He and I, even, I never ran the marathon, I never did like these longer distance, but I think it helps to know when people have run this. So when someone talks about an 800 workout they did, or a mile workout, or one that I've prescribed, I've done it, so I know how it's supposed to feel, at what point it's supposed to feel. But I also know that I might be a different miler as well. So the way, if I approach it from this more speed, kind of anaerobic side of things, where maybe this person approaches it more aerobic, I'll reach out to my, I have, luckily we have a lot of friends where I'll talk to David. Hey, how is this supposed to feel? This person, everything they tell me, they run the exact same mileage, everything they say almost is mapped identical to this person. So you could kind of get an idea of this is what fits. But you also have to use feedback with that, because again, very few people are identical.
Yeah.
But we've had people come on and tell us, hey, I did this and this is how it felt. But the minute you hear that and you're like, that doesn't make sense, because maybe, but something's off there. So there's either something's off in what we're hearing or in the data, or maybe you're doing something else. So you can kind of, it just is, over time you learn.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by like people's mental toughness and whatnot. And you guys, I don't know if you guys follow endurance trail runs, but the Cocodona 250 was a couple weeks ago, and I was glued to TV all week watching this thing. And you're talking about like a different level of mental toughness.
Oh, for sure.
And enduring pain, enduring sleep deprivation, enduring feelings you've never felt, hallucinating. And the people that can do that for 80 hours, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw this as well, but the same week that Cocodona 250 was going on, there was a girl, a female, that ran a 600 mile in 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
And like the mental toughness, again, going back to these endurance events, is just insane.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what turns me on and gets me motivated and excited. And like watching Cocodona, like it gave me enough time to set my plan for this fall and to set my plan for the spring on what I'm going to do. And I'm totally stoked and motivated to do it. But that kind of brings up another point. So mental toughness, I think, is a big deal. And, for the individuals out there listening, like, find a way to tap into that, man. If two people line up on the line and they have the exact same physical conditioning and they've trained the exact way to get to the point, the person with mental toughness is going to win every single time.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But aside from that, let's talk about motivation a little bit. I heard something recently and it really clicked and it resonated with me because it's so true in everything that we do. But the saying was as simple as, if you find yourself motivated, do something about it. Right?
Yeah.
Do something about it. If you're watching Cocodona 250 and you're motivated, man, sign up for a race in the fall, sign up for a race in the spring. That's way out of your league. But now you've got something to train for and whatnot. And I can tell you that when you sign up for these events like that, the majority of people that are signing up for these events are not in shape to go out and run them today. And they go out and they get the help from coaches to get them there. And that's how I operate. I really do perform my best when I have something that I'm looking forward to and I can train specifically for it.
Yeah.
And if I don't have an event on the calendar, then I'm just kind of in la la land, just kind of walking around, right? I don't know if you guys are the same way.
Oh yeah, I think that's huge. I was gonna say a great example of that is over COVID, where I had a lot of teammates and including myself where it was like, you don't know when the next season's gonna be. Our season just got canceled. We all just trained super hard. I had some teammates that just qualified for the national meet, had a chance to win. All of a sudden, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
And we kind of, there was a time where I was running every day, and I'm like, the trail got shut down that I used to run at, and then the other trail, and I said, I lost all motivation, didn't run for like a week, and we kind of had to manufacture this as a group where we just all met up in Flagstaff. We're like, hey, we're just gonna train, and then our coach as well was, really smart, where he was like, hey, we haven't raced in forever. We're just gonna throw a time trial on the schedule. The time trial meant nothing, but for us, it was like, oh, we have to be fit for that, and all of a sudden we kind of have it back. So it's always, regardless of whether you're competing and at a national level or just for yourself, or to be able to put an event on the schedule. Even, recently I was working at a bank job, and, I was starting to eat bad. I was, I wasn't training.
The corporate
as well.
life, man.
I know. And I told him, I was like, I said, I'm going to just throw a meet on the schedule an 800. I was like, I haven't trained an 800 in a year. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm just going to throw it on there. Just train me for it. Because once that's on there, I just naturally have to start getting back into things. And then once my training starts to kind of work, the other aspects of my life kind of fall in. I was like, okay, well, now I need to get sleep. Now I need to eat better because I want to feel good. So it's kind of like that one little thing that's so trivial all of a sudden fixes so many other aspects of my life.
So what's on your calendar, man?
Well, so last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, I just did an 800 with some friends from high school that were a lot of the best runners from Tennessee. We just kind of hopped up after work, went and ran an 800 at Vanderbilt's track. And then I was like, I'll do a 400 just to lap, just to see what I can do. And I was like, hey, I got 3 weeks for this. Get me right. And then, maybe in a few weeks, or they want me to do a marathon, so we'll see about that.
You never run a marathon?
No. So,
that's awesome.
So I'm working my way up to it. So I'm trying to. I told him today. I said I'm starting to get a lot more respect for a lot of the ultra runners and the marathoners and the trail runners and the bikers, because that was something I had never done. And then today I just got destroyed on a trail, and I was like, this is so.
I love it.
So it really will humble you, but also I just love it. And to mention the ultras you were talking about, I have a friend who I'd say mentally, I think a lot of really good athletes have something that's wired differently. And sometimes it's to a point where you kind of question, this person's a little off. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, dude, these guys are crazy. He said, maybe you're the one that's off, because he loves this stuff. And, he'll go out and just, for no reason at all, just try to break a Strava record. There was just to train for ultra. And we had a practice one day where he was like, I'm just going to push myself as hard as I can. And we got down, we're all drinking our protein shake shot, whatever. And we're like, where's he at? And no one could find him. Our coach is like, we should probably go check on him. He had pushed himself so hard that his legs just quit working. He was just like basically crawling back. He was a mile away, but he was just wired differently to where he could run through a broken back, run through anything.
Yeah.
Whereas like, it's fascinating to see, and especially I think the ultra, and like he kind of said this morning, when you're out in the woods or you're on a bike, whatever, you're doing these long events, there is something so, I think, primal, and just to get away from the phone, to whatever, to push your body to a limit. You're like, I'm not going to make it, or I'm not. Yeah. And then you get done with it and you're like, well, I can't walk right now, but I'd do it again. Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I would say athletes like that, they really short-term memory, right?
Yeah.
You remember the pain when the race was over and you're like, I'm never doing this again. And then like you turn around and you sign up for the next one.
Exactly.
I don't know. Dave, are you the same way? You got to have something on the calendar to look
forward to? Oh, totally. So I did Leadville last year.
And what's that distance?
100 miles.
100. I didn't know the run was 100 miles.
Yeah. It's way harder than the bike too, because you go over Hope Pass.
Okay.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
So I did that last year. Like last year, I had like 3 big, huge goals. All like they all. I met them all basically within 2 months. All 3 of them. And they were all things I'd been working on for like years. Yeah. And so I knocked all of those out, and I spent probably 3 or 4 months just kind of like out in like this weird like place where I was like, what am I doing now? so I just kind of lived in that weird spot for a while. And then I had said something to the country music marathon like pacing guy, and it was like, hey, like this was in the fall, and I was like, you guys should have like a 3-hour pace group. And he's like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And he's like, would you be interested in pacing? And I was like, maybe. And I just left it at that. And 4 weeks before or 6 weeks, it was 6 weeks, right? Yeah, 6 weeks before, I get a message from them, and it's like, hey, here's the registration code for the country music marathon. We have you down pacing the 3-hour group. I was like,
Oh crap.
all right, guess it's time to get back in shape. And so, he threw together a quick program, and I hammered down and got it going. And then from there, I'm going to go jump in a 5K. Mm-hmm. And then I've got the Austin Rattler 50K on, with the goal of getting my Leadville coin again, right? Because I'm an idiot.
Do it again.
And then I also pacing the country music group. I got my Boston qualifying time.
Sweet.
So I'm gonna hop in Boston next year also.
Awesome.
So got a number of things on the calendar lined up. But yeah, it definitely keeps my head down.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. Just having something to look forward to, something to train for. Obviously, it works for the three of us. It's gonna, if somebody's out there listening that needs some motivation, man, go sign up for something. Go travel for something. Go do something like that. And I'm trying to think, like, where would people go to find these things? I go to bikereg.com, look for bike events, ultra sign up for races, for ultra distance races. Where else can you go to look for these kind of things?
I mean, you can do like obviously social media. There's a lot of them. Strava has a number of postings on stuff like that up there. If you're like local, go into your local bike shop. Moab always has a good idea of things that are going on. In fact, they're usually sponsors of things that are going on.
Right.
So that's a really good place to go. If you're like, man, I'm still really lost, reach out to us on social media at True Performance. We have people that do high rocks. We've got people like, if you're looking for something that's, trying to fit it into whatever it is that you've got in your head, like we probably have experience working with somebody that's done something like that and can point you in the direction of where you should go to either learn more or something that might be a good fit for you as an athlete and your personal mindset goals, that sort of thing. So just reach out. I mean, even if it's not for coaching, if it's just for like, hey, I'd like some advice on what to do, like hit us up.
Yeah, right on. Or like Baylor said, just make one yourself. Make up a challenge yourself, which is what I'm doing in the spring next year, because ultras are becoming super popular right now. They're literally, Cocodona went live yesterday, sold out in 8 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like, what in the world? And they've added some other events out there, but like, if you're not a normal human being that can be at a computer, you're going to lose out on this kind of stuff. But my point is, there was nothing during the time frame that I wanted something next spring. So I'm just doing it myself. Like, it's just going to be my own thing. So I'm looking forward to that. So we've talked a lot about nutrition, mindset, mental strength, motivation. I mean, what else can the average athlete out there take away from you guys?
Man, I think one of the big things is like, there's a lot of things that like between he and I, we have a total of 8 coaches within True Performance. And so, we have a lot of experience in a lot of places, from a lot of different backgrounds. One of our guys raced professionally on bikes in Europe. Mm-hmm. We got another guy that races professionally criterium racing in the United States. We got a guy that raced professionally on mountain bikes. We've got Baylor that ran at a very, very high level. We've got another coach that ran the 400 and did high jumps at a D1 school. And she does some strength and conditioning stuff for us and that sort of thing. But we have a lot of people that have done a lot of things. And so, if you have questions on things, like reach out to somebody that knows something about it. Like you don't just have to go out and try to just figure it out from scratch. It's not reinventing the wheel, especially like knowing that there's someone out there that's probably done it. Like just ask and find out more. I think that's one of the biggest things. That's actually what got me into coaching. When I got into triathlon in high school, there was not a lot of coaching out there. Mm-hmm. Also, the exercise physiology world was a pretty new world in 2006.
True.
And so,
it's probably changed dramatically since then.
Oh man, it is completely right? different. But yeah, I didn't know anything. I showed up. It was at this. It was called the Hy-Vee Triathlon. There were 2,500 people doing this race. It was the Olympic qualifier. It's just a really big race that just happened to be held in Des Moines, Iowa, and I won an entry, free entry to this thing, and I was like, well, I've swam and I've ridden a bike a little bit and I've run cross country, so let's go do this Olympic triathlon. And so, but I went out there and didn't know anything. How do I do transition? Wetsuits, open water swimming. I swim in a pool. But all of those things, literally on race day, I just stood there at the start line of this race, pretty dumbfounded at what it was I was about to get into.
You didn't have your transition kit in the 5-gallon bucket, did you?
No, I did not. I did not. No, I wasn't even I didn't even know that was a thing that someone might do. But no, it was. And then at that point in time, that plus having some not so great high school coaching experiences, it was those two things. I was like, man, I want to be able to offer something to somebody where if the barrier to entry is I don't know, I want to be able to relieve that from somebody, because I think that for a lot of people is the barrier to entry on a lot of things. Running a 5K, where do I even start? I've never run at all in my life. Technique, should I do a run walk? Where do I start? And triathlon, do I need a fancy bike? Do I need to spend $12,000? I see a lot of $12,000 bikes. Do I need to spend that to be able to?
Yes.
Yes. But super shoes. Do I need super shoes? Can I do it in trainers? There are so many questions about that, and I think that it can be a little overwhelming, especially when you put multiple sports together, or you go cover 100 miles running, or any of these different things. What am I about to get into? And it's a big barrier to entry, and I want to remove that. And so like I was saying, one of the important things is if you don't know, ask.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Well, listen, guys, let's wrap up. I appreciate you being here. This is awesome. I love this discussion, and honestly, we should get back together this fall after we've done a few things and do a recap. But check these guys out. TruePerformance.com. Is that fair?
Yep.
On Facebook and all the socials and whatnot. But I'll leave you with some final words, right? If you find yourself motivated, do something about it. Right on?
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Till next time. Thanks for listening to the Nashville Mountain Bike Podcast, powered by SORBA Mid-TN. To learn more, visit sorbamidtn.org and follow us on the socials for the most up-to-date information. As always, follow, share, and give us a 5-star review if you enjoyed listening today. Thanks for being a part. See you on the trails.